Hey everyone, Matt here from Docs Running, and today we're going to do a 100-mile review of the New Balance FuelCell SC Elite version 5. So the purpose of these 100-mile reviews are really to update you and give you a good idea of what these shoes tend to do as you start to get more miles on them. A lot of reviewers out there get their reviews out with only a few miles on them. We work really hard to try to get at least 30 to 50 miles on shoes before we put a review out there. But even then, that doesn't even tell the whole story, and we know that. So the purpose of me trying to do these is to go, hey, I'm super hard on shoes. If I can get them to 100 miles, can I give you some more information to help support your thoughts and questions about what is durability like? Is it the most miles on the shoe? No, but if you followed us before, you know how hard I am on shoes. So we're going to try to update you on over these miles. How's fit change? How's the midsole change? How's the outsole holding up? So you can hopefully make better decisions about what you're putting on your feet, and hope this can help you make those decisions. So getting into this is New Balance's super racing shoe. It's one of the, as opposed to the SC Pacer, this is more of the long distance shoe. It is not the fastest shoe on the market. It's a very comfortable shoe. This whole series has a history of being very comfortable for recreational runners. And the new version, I thought initially with the first couple miles was going to be different. It's obviously lighter, full-length PEBA foam, way more aggressive geometry, way stiffer plate. But as I got miles on this shoe, it's honestly become one of the most comfortable super shoes of the year, and that is why it's one of the rare ones I've gotten 100 miles on. Now, most super shoes I don't like doing longer runs in. I've been a little bit nervous about doing that kind of stuff, but this is the first one that's been comfortable enough that I did tons of long runs in, which helped me get to this point. But I've also enjoyed workouts in. There's some challenges with that I want to share with you. This has a little bit specific purpose, but I'm going to say this again. This is one of the most comfortable super shoes out there, and I still think, even though it's more aggressive, it may work better for a lot of people getting into their first super shoe to try something out like this. So let's start with some of the specs first, and then we'll move into the different parts. We'll start with the fit. We'll talk about the midsole and the ride, and then we'll talk about outsole, because that's one of the biggest questions. Hey, did this thing last 100 miles? So in my men's size 10, this thing is coming in at 7.8 ounces or about 220 grams. So it's definitely not the lightest shoe out there. It's also not the heaviest, kind of sitting in that mid to slightly heavier range, but it does feel really, really comfortable on foot, as we'll talk about in a second. The stack height is going to be 40 millimeters in the heel, 32 in the forefoot for an 8 millimeter drop, which I'm preferring the 8+ millimeter drop right now because my Achilles is a little irritated. It doesn't feel super low. It doesn't feel super high. It feels right in the middle and transitions super smoothly. The fit is almost one of my favorite parts, where it's got a pretty wide toe box for a racing shoe, and the stretchy upper has a little volume to it. So you want to be able to wiggle your toes a little bit and accommodate swelling on long runs. This is a really great upper. Upper is a more normal width fit. It's not as narrow as some super shoes out there. Definitely not the widest shoe out there. So if you have super wide fit, this still might not work. But the laces, I did have to lock down a little bit to get a secure fit, but really nice breathable upper with a little stretch to it. And again, that nice wider toe box. It especially has a little bit more room on the medial side if you need some big toe room. Very nice. Like heel collar padding back here, there is a stiff heel counter back here, a little bit flexibility. So if you are sensitive, this can be a little bit bothersome, but for the most part, it's round and actually been pretty good. In terms of durability, there is no wear up here. I've used this almost exclusively for harder runs, because when I do long runs, most of them my wife is pushing the pace, and I'm doing my best to keep up with her while pushing a 60-pound stroller with my daughter in it. So it's been a great shoe, and it's held up really well. I would not use this on trail, as the upper is light, and I obviously have a white shoe, so I don't want to get it too dirty, but its durability has been really good, and it's maintained this nice fit, and it's really comfortable. It's one of those rare racing shoes where when I stop running, I can keep it on. The upper doesn't feel like it's constricted my foot. So upper, really good. Wish the little heel count was a little more flexible, so be careful of that. But outside of that, the rare wider toe box racing shoe. Now, onto the midsole. It's a full-length PEBA foam. It's still fuel cell based, which these names don't mean anything because they're just different blends. But it is supposed to be PEBA based. It is not the fastest midsole on the market. It is definitely not the most responsive. It is a little bit more relaxed. The shoe is much better for 10K and up kind of paces. 5K and below, it really struggles because it just doesn't respond quick enough. But doing long runs, doing longer intervals, felt like it feels really good to get into a rhythm, and it hangs on and maintains its consistent feel underfoot for super long miles. I've had runs where the first mile feels exactly the same as mile 14 and 15 underfoot. It's just really nice. Now, it took a while to get there. The first like 30, 40 miles, the plate was so stiff. There's a full-length carbon fiber plate here, and it felt really stiff. In fact, actually starting to pick up the pace didn't feel good. It felt like the plate wouldn't bend. After 40 to 50 miles, that started to relax. And yes, is it stiff? Yes. Is it rockered? Yes. But it feels more relaxed now, and there's a little bit more flexibility, and it is so comfortable towing off. And honestly, that's actually made it feel a little faster. I don't like the most stiff shoe on the market. It feels like when I really try to push into the plate, really bend it to get forward, it can be a little bit irritating. As it's broken in, it's much better and felt a little bit better into that 10K pace range. But beyond that, I wouldn't. Most people, this is going to be a really awesome half marathon, marathon shoe just because it's so consistent and it feels really good. And it's not so aggressive and bouncy that you're going to get thrown all over the place, which a lot of faster runners might like. For the more recreational runner or someone like myself, it feels really nice and consistent. That's why I keep grabbing it. So not the fastest, but still has some range, just not over the super short distances. Track stuff, really fast stuff, it just doesn't respond well enough. But getting into a rhythm, it feels awesome, especially on long runs. Now, I will say one of the reasons I was very surprised I could use this for long runs is I did not think this was going to be stable enough. The midfoot is fairly narrow. The heel is narrow. I didn't think I was going to be able to handle this shoe, but I just kept noticing, like, why is this working for me? And I think it's the same reason it doesn't work as well for Andrea is the fact that there's not a lot of lateral flare on this shoe. The midsole doesn't extend very far to the outer side. There's actually a decent amount of medial flow, especially in the forefoot, and I tend to need some forefoot stability. Especially here, it extends pretty far out here, which you can see, which is really nice and helps to stabilize as I toe off. There's also some slight medial flare on the inner side in the heel. The other pieces that I think helps is actually, the more I've looked at this, the heel is actually wedged laterally just a little bit. And that actually helps keep me a little bit this direction. If you go laterally, you may not like this shoe, but if you need some mild guidance, this actually might work. And then the cutout through here, the groove actually tends to keep things a little bit more centered. It's not a stability shoe. It's not a mild stability shoe, but there are some mild methods that people with mild stability needs might find they might actually work. Don't quote me on this because I'm still looking at this shoe going, this is too narrow in the midfoot for this to be halfway stable, but I will say it's done really well over longer miles, and I'm still confused as to why, but those are my hypotheses as why it might be working. But please in the comments, let me know if I'm nuts and put that down below, because it's just working really well for me, which is weird. It might be the forefoot, it might be the slight wedge, who knows? I also need some help with that, but just know it has done surprisingly well. There's also a small sidewall here in the medial midfoot, but again, that typically for me doesn't offset a narrow midfoot, but in this one, maybe it does. So it's been really good so far. The midsole's also stayed really consistent over time. Not the bounciest thing, as I said, but it's maintained a similar feel. So durability-wise, the midsole has done extremely well, and I will say the more the plate breaks in, the much better it has definitely rode. I will also mention landing on the heel gives a different fit from the ride from the forefoot, and that has stayed similar. Really nice bounce and roll forward, but if you get up on your toes a little bit, it's not a terrible thing. But definitely a shoe that transitions a little bit better heel to toe, which is exactly how I run. Now, last part, talking about outsole durability, which you may have seen. I cannot believe this outsole didn't come off. This is 100 miles. I swore this was going to come off, and New Balance, you proved me wrong that not every shoe is going to do that. The outsole has hung on. There's not that much wear. A little bit of wear in the lateral forefoot here, but the outsole pieces are still hanging on. So again, if you're looking for a shoe that can wear surprisingly well, this is a good one. $250 is not terrible for this shoe if you're going to get 100 miles on it, and the versatility to handle a lot of things, not just fast speed workouts, has really made this shoe that it's in my contender for a super shoe of the year. Not again because it's the fastest, because it is comfortable. And in today's world where shoes are getting super expensive, having a shoe that can handle a good amount of things while still being good is important. I talked about marathon shoes. If I had to run a marathon tomorrow, this would be one of the ones that I would immediately grab, and I still stand by that. So New Balance, I am really impressed with this shoe. I know I've said this 1,000 times. It's not the fastest shoe, but it is definitely the most comfortable one out there for me. Now, I really also want to know what you think about this, because I just want to make sure that I'm not nuts, because sometimes I get really attached to a shoe. So please in the comments below, let me know, are you having a similar feel? Are you having a different feel? Do you feel like this is comfortable? Are you feeling like it's weirdly able to handle longer runs for those of you that need some mild guidance knees? Do you think that's just from how stiff the plate is or the flare? What do you think of the upper? I really want to know your opinions too, not just for me, but for others that come here, because the whole purpose of this is we are trying to share. We don't get paid for any of this stuff. We make a little money from some of the small advertisements, but we don't let shoe companies pay us. We do not sell the shoes. We give them away if people need them to people in need, like students and those that need stuff more than we do. And we do this out of the good of our heart to try to provide information to help you make better decisions. So if you can also contribute too, especially if you have a different opinion, please put that below so somebody can maybe come along and see something that may resonate with them, so we can help everyone stay healthy, make better decisions about the stuff that they put on their feet, and go enjoy this sport that's really supposed to be simple, sometimes a little complicated, but if you can get through stuff and find something that works for you, it'll be simple and you can enjoy the run.